Hello. Let's see, I'm going to start with some concerns that should be heard about what I witness and what's going on in regards to enrollment. And it's very important that I have a voice and should be heard, and that people should have the opportunity to decide what is right based on hearing all sides of the story or interpretations or what is really going on, and should learn from the past and know the past and be able to see how things have not gone so great in regards to Native Americans. And why am I doing this, or why am I so adamant about it, is because it's very important to me and to my ancestors, and especially in regards to John Quinney and Austin Quiddy and the Mohikan Nation, Stockbridge Indians, the community, and all the people that will benefit from knowing the truth and not being manipulated. This is so important. I cannot stress it. I know that sometimes I come off a little bit too overwhelming because of all the things that I took a lot of time and effort into studying and researching history, documents, language, litigation, law, how they're manipulating in the words they're using, the phrases that they use, the definitions, the language. That's why if you were to go to court, you need a lawyer, and that's why they cost so much. It's because the language is not meant to be understood by your everyday person with a regular education, or it's actually intentionally made to be interpreted wrong and precisely worded to manipulate people to get their way. To say, oh, look at this nice good thing I got here. Yep, sounds good, right? Yep, it sounds good. Everything's going good. And then what I seen at the meeting, every question that was asked and all the concerns were never answered. No, it's in there. Look in there in the pamphlet. Yeah, it's in there. And they never elaborated or explained it. You'd think that someone, if they were in charge or if they were a leader or representing the tribe, that they would talk and explain it and not say, oh, look in there. That's red flag. And why that is because I read what they were talking about. I didn't get to review the document, the paper, at the time, but I did after, and I noticed some very important ways they worded things in there, and noticed that people, the community, members who care and value culture, rights, justice, and just the community, the descendants. If you value these things, if you have integrity, if you're true or honest, there's a reason. I'm not trying to take away anything from the community members or people who are part of the tribe or anything. I'm actually what it is going to do is benefit them extremely important that people know the past and things, how they did it, and they're basing the enrollment off the 1910 enrollment list. And it said in the original Stockbridge reservation, and then there's a comma mark, and then in Shawano County. See, this is what I mean by this language and this way it's written. Now, if the comma mark wasn't there, it would say that it would be without the comma, it would be specifying the original Stockbridge reservation in Shawano County. That's what. If you're not in tune to these things and been researching it, if you read that and you're in plain English, when you read it, you're thinking that that's what it means. That it's talking about this reservation, Red Springs in Shawano County. Now, when that comma's added in there, it's talking about not this one. It's talking about the original Stockbridge reservation, which would be Calumet by Lake Winnebago, comma, in Shawano County, in the state of Wisconsin. What this is doing is this is giving lineal descendants of all the people in the whole state, including the ones that were involved and on the corrupt enrollment of 1971, specifically, and thereafter, anything at 1971 and after should be severely reviewed, and including 1956. John Quinney died. Wait. Let me correct everything I just said with the dates. I'm sorry, this is before my time. 1871. Everything before 1871. John Quinney died in 1855. He was very educated, just as educated as all the lawyers and the government and the people that were taking the land. And he used his education for the people, for tribal people. Now, when they were getting moved around and manipulated by the government, and I can even explain how they did that as well. Now the Shawano Journal that I found on the internet is now gone and no longer on there. I can't find it. It could, because what was on there was a news article telling immigrants to hurry and go settle, that there was land available, prime land, to go be settled on. And it was referring to Red Springs, this reservation. And it was people who owned newspaper companies that were part of Congress and the government and Senate. And some of these people were Native Americans. They were kidnapped from their families, raised, brainwashed, manipulated to be used as tools. And a lot of them aren't even descendants of the tribe they were put into. Okay? Let's talk about that kidnapping. What is does anyone know what flint knapping is? Napping? Flint knapping? What they use for stone tools? Kidnapping? Okay, when you're napping something, like flint knapping, you're taking a solid thing, something that's solid in its original form, and what you're doing is you're fracturing off the unwanted. You're fracturing the unwanted things away from it, off of it, and to make a tool that you use. And that's exactly what they did with the kidnapping. They fractured the kids away from their families, and they got rid of all the things they didn't want, the language, the religion, all of them. The ones that they were able to make into the tools that they needed to use, those are the ones you find. Those are the ones that were dangerous to the Native Americans and were undermining the Native Americans the whole way they were trying to negotiate. And the ones that resisted, or, there's mass burials, there's graves. They killed them. It's sad, but it's the truth. I mean, we can't just, and people know this, but sometimes I feel like if given an opportunity, and once I feel comfortable, I have a unique ability to, break things down, or, break things down so that people can understand them. Things that are complicated. That's what I was told at my job, where I was a floor lead, because there are certain things where you think that's something some way because you've seen it happen, but it's more complex than that. So now where was I? Let's talk about this enrollment. John Quinney, there's really nothing on the res about him except for there's one sign that's not even viewable from the road. It's back in the parking lot in the old folks' home. And the Stockbridge Indians were being undermined by the same thing that created laws and acts to eliminate and destroy Native Americans. The same entity that is now infiltrated and working with, or working for, or acting as, or influencing the tribe and their decisions and their way of life. What do you value? Is culture preservation? Is it to take everyone's artifacts and put them in a basement, and you go on you try to look on information and you can't find anything about any of these things? For instance, my grandfather's pipe, which that is a very unfortunate situation, and another case of manipulation because of what I know and what I'm doing. Because there are laws and I've studied them and I followed the process. And I'll tell you quick what happened with this just recently. I was recently mailed a ticket. Well, I didn't get it yet. I found out about it before I got it. I had no knowledge of this. I went to the museum some time ago. Wanted to view John Quinney powder horn and Austin Quinney's pipe. So I did. Well, I came across this on a YouTube video, which there are a lot of good Stockbridge YouTube videos and stuff, and Bonnie Hartley, who is, she seems like a very good, decent person. And I can tell, it seems to me that she has the good perspective or idea of how things should be, and that's how it was presented, and that's in the video, and that things are going to be brought back, and the descendants are going to be able to connect and hold it, and and it was promising. And what I come to find out is that in the hands of the Stockbridge tribe, that wasn't the case. And with this Native American Graves and Protection Act, I've read the laws, and these things like objects and things that people owned are supposed to go to the lineal descendants of those people. That's their property. And people know that a lot of things are collected and taken, and they don't know how they were and whatever, but they're supposed to get a hold of the lineal descendants and to put them back in the right hands. This was never done. People didn't really even know about these things. It was like it was kept on the hush-hush. So I'm guessing that it seemed like no one wanted it, or there wasn't anything to do with it. So Bonnie, working with the tribe, and it seemed like the best thing to do, and it makes sense, that they consider Austin Quinney's pipe, his personal pipe, that they would consider that of cultural significance, the tribe, and that they would acquire it that way when it doesn't qualify as that. That would be something like, let's see, that would be like a treaty or something that belong to the whole tribe, that everyone knows about, uses, whatever. Now, I don't know of anyone who smokes any pipe, so I asked her about it. I said that I would like to connect with it and to maybe to use it, and that things should be examined, put to use, not sit on a shelf somewhere. That would be the ideal way to preserve culture, would be to practice it, I think. But preserve culture. It sounds good, but what can it doesn't, the title doesn't explain what it really is doing. And so she said, so the lady at the museum, she had an attitude, she was standoffish, and she goes, oh, that's, they didn't know it back then, but the wood that was used in the pipe was toxic. And I just asked, isn't tobacco smoke toxic? Well, she didn't answer yes or no. But something considered toxic is, it's like saying people used to drive cars, but they didn't know the exhaust was toxic, or, you know what I mean? A lot of things are toxic. Bug spray and shit, right? You're not smoking the pipe. You're smoking the tobacco in the pipe. And I would be cautious and examine it and test it and make sure too. And one other thing I was wondering about the pipe is that it looked very similar to a war club. And I was just curious or wondering, because they had sage stuffed in where you put the tobacco. Recently I was wondering if it would just so happen that that ball was cut off of the war club and then turned into a pipe, maybe. Because they used to have iron pipes that were served, they were hatchets, like war hatchets. And then on the other end, it would have a pipe where they could smoke it. And that's where you get the saying, bury the hatchet, because you'd stop the war and you'd bury the hatchet and put it away. And that's when they came up with the peace pipe. That occurred to me that maybe an older version of that would have been like a war club and maybe cut the ball off it and turn it into a peace pipe. I don't know. No one's ever had that. It's never been taught, or it wasn't a thing researched. It's just something that occurred to me. Just the shape of the pipe was very unique. Like the handle in the Four Kings, it would be Itawacombe. The four Indian kings, Itawacombe. And then history changed it to the four Mohawk kings. But then one of them was a Mohican. Oh, because they forgot to take that out. Oh, that wasn't, that was a typo. No, it's because they're the same people and they're changing history. The Mohawk people, Mohican, Mohegan, all those people on the east side of the nation, they're all of the same people. The government wanted to divide them up. You know, that's how you conquer and displace people, take them out of their element. So, Itawacombe, I found one document means both sides of the river. Now, my grandfather, greater-grandfather, was Ickatom. Basically, you're taking the K and the T and swapping it. And it said that his name went both sides of the river. Now, in many languages, including the said Iroquois Mohawk, when you see a G written, it's pronounced as a K sound like a K, and when you see a K written, it's pronounced like a G sound like you're swapping them. Well, Mohegan, Mohican, they're the same people. Connecticut, it's the same thing. But I could go into that and how that happened with history and whatever, and Mohawk and that as well. But I should get back on track to the concerns with this thing going on. Why are all the departments shut down, enrollment, and all this thing is all what? Because they can't agree on lineal descent, or what? It makes no sense. That makes no sense. That's because it's not what's going on. It's because the enrollment got jacked up because it's altered, and because I handed in testimony of the subcommittee and a man by the name of C.C. Painter, and it's a huge document. It explains his testimony of this whole thing that they're discussing in the courts, and it's a lot of reading and complicated, and I didn't actually read the whole thing from to beginning. I highlighted sections, and I have quite a lot of documents and put a lot of time into looking into these things and how and what, and and the New York claims as well. How the New York claims there were Mohican Indians and Stockbridgers that should have been involved in the New York claim, settlement claim. Well, they were, but they didn't know they were. For instance, John Quinney. These people that were supposed to be involved in the settlement, they were taken out of the claims by the BAA because they say, they want you to identify as a matrilineal clan-based system or tribe. They can get you to say that. They're going to use that to their advantage. So I read the paperwork with the BIA and these applications. Well, what they do is they pick and choose who they want to be in involved in the claims. For instance, you have these people that fill out these applications, and the names on the applications of the people who it's for, the people filling them out aren't even the ones that they're filling them out for. Okay? It almost appears as they are, the way it's filled out, but they're not the people filling them out. It's like their family, essentially, or, supposed family. And we can get into dowries and, marriages, and it's either pencil whooping the shit out of things is what's going on. It's called fraud and identity theft, I would think, and many other things. And a quick thing about the 4 Indian Kings. Now, I've been correcting things that I found on the internet, Wikipedia, by giving feedback and providing the information correct that doesn't match up. And I noticed changes in things. They know it, and I'm probably being monitored. Maybe I don't care. I'm not worried. What they would like to do is use scare tactics and have people fear not to do, so they don't do things like these. But that's not how it works. And well, I noticed this about the 4 Indian Kings. Well, guess what? The museum that holds the 4 Indian Kings paintings it's closing this year. By the end of the year, it's shutting down, and they're getting rid of it. It's interesting, right? Now, the New York Indians, or the St. Regis, the Mohawk tribe. My grandfather, families, many Stockbridge, they're on these treaty, the treaty list of these people who they didn't find, or they weren't associated with the claims. They're on the list. But never heard or seen anything about any of it. Anyway. So, let's say, for instance, there was a lady by the name of, that was supposedly John Quinney's daughter. Well, in that application, she puts, there's 11 or 12 Quinneys that are on there. And then there's her. Her last name was Dockstader. I believe it's Martha or Mary Dockstader. And she has her other siblings, Sprague, a bunch of, they're all like different names. And in there she describes John Quinney as being a very bad man, and that he didn't get divorced before he married her mother. Okay, and this is her father she's talking about. I doubt this is, I don't doubt it. I question the legitimacy of this document. Now, so what she did is she filled out the application, included them all, and then sent it to the BIA. The BIA reviews it, says, sorry, you trace your lineage through matrilineal, you don't qualify, and it gets rid of it. So these applications are filled out by the people who are working with the BIA that don't want them to get the claim. So they act as them to file like they are getting a claim. It'd be like suing yourself to lose. They're like suing themselves to lose, or it's like they have things called test cases. So when the courts decide cases, and depending on what kind of jurisdiction it is, so a case will be based off of the decisions of other cases. That's why if you ever see in so-and-so versus so-and-so, they always reference things, attorneys doing, lawyers. So there's a thing where they have test cases. So let's say they know something they're going to go after, or they want, or they're preparing for, and it's an issue, and they want a certain outcome. They might make a test case. So they might create a fake case or have an incident with that matches what they're what they're going to try to how would you say it? Well, what they're going to manipulate basically, so that they lose on purpose. So the people will lose on purpose. Okay, there's a what is it? There's a famous case about a Second Amendment right. I think it's John Miller versus the United States. No, it's the Second Amendment versus the United States, and it's to do with a sawed-off shotgun. And there's no information about the guy didn't even go to court for it or testimony or nothing. And the case was decided on, which is unusual. It's probably a test case. So they set up this case, and then they have the results for it. It's all set up. So then in the future, they reference that case, and they base their decisions off the old cases. So it's all set up already. Now that's just an idea, or I'm explaining how they're manipulating things. Okay. So, for instance, they're acting as, the government will act as someone fighting them or doing something against them that they're trying to have done, you know. But really it's them. They're infiltrated it and are basically either awarding them something, but then them is not the real them, like within the New York, basically eliminating a whole bunch of people, and then all that's left is a couple of people that have close ties with the BIA and the government. Okay. That was done. I seen one name. This is like around 1907, 1910 when this settlement was done, and it was around $2 million. And I think, from what I got, it was like two people got the money. It was like divided by two people that I got, that I seen. And then, so let's see. So anyways, there's a BIA office in Oneida. There was. And if you didn't notice, they were kind of close or moving with or along with tribes, and you'll see they got little sections everywhere, you know, and that should be looked into. You know, I could throw names out there, but the people that were there, they're not alive today. So to do that, why? It's just gonna make it look like I'm, or cause some sort of confrontation or an enemy, which isn't the case. What I'm trying to do is bring light to a situation, tell the truth so people understand what happened, so that you can heal from it. You have open wounds that aren't going to ever be healed, and nothing's ever going to get done for anyone if you don't know what happened. It's just, it's like that one movie. You want the truth, you can't handle the truth. It's like, what you have to do is you have to know the truth, what really happened, okay, accept it for what it is, right, and move forward. And that's what I think. But there's so much at stake here that they're not going to want to let it happen. Okay. And if you think it's going to jeopardize and destroy the tribe because of it, there's another option. It won't destroy the tribe or take away from the community. What it's going to do is it's going to weed out, the people involved in this, it's going to make them have them be held accountable, is what it's going to do. And it's going to allow justice to come and the rest of the community to benefit largely by acquiring what was always supposed to be theirs. Whether it be settlements, claims, whatever. Like this whole reservation. Buying back their reservation. Why would you buy back your own reservation? I mean, some people say that allegedly it's money laundering with the government. And, well, let's find out. Unless maybe they ran a test case on it. Maybe they already settled it. Maybe that's why they don't brought it up. Yeah, we already decided that. No one knew about it. Why? Because we decided it. Because it was infiltrated. And yeah, of course it was decided on. That's like having the head coach of a team in a sporting event be the referee in the championship, and there's a lot on the line, right? That wouldn't be fair. We're having but I'll make another video here. I probably see, it's hard for me not to dive into this and connect all these dots, but then it makes a long video. But at least you don't have to read it. I should section them into like categories probably. For instance, Mohawk Indian art. Yeah, and I like feedback and help too. Criticize me. I want to be criticized. I want to be questioned. Like with the museum thing. Well, if this pipe they obtained this pipe, cultural, because it has cultural significance. Well, okay, let's examine the treaties. These treaties that I'll bring up and that I'd like to see and that people should see, that'll explain a lot of things. Let's examine them and ask them if they could show the people them at the next meeting. Ask for them, see what they say. Now, if they were to say, well, we don't have them, or something, or they are... Now, if they were for the tribe, for the community, for the people, in good faith, had integrity, they would be like, oh yeah, okay, you'd like to see the trees? Sure, we can do that. That's open to the, that's the library, and it's open to view, and part of our history, right? You would think so. You would assume so, because that's how it should be. If it was legit, it should be. They should be more willing to present them and share things and explain things and interact. And one thing I noticed is that the meetings, for instance on Facebook, every time that I would see a meeting, and if it was even about a meeting coming up, it would already be passed. The date would already be passed. So it was like they were posting that there was going to be a meeting on whatever said date, and when you're viewing it, that time has already expired past it. So I guess they made it public knowledge. That meeting was made public, right? Because it was. But what's the point of it? because they do it after. This is how they manipulate the ways, how they word things to manipulate them. It was made public. But yeah, after it was done, and people are asking about a survey. What survey? Survey? We never got no survey. We never partaken in any survey at this meeting I went to. And they didn't have no answers. Well, maybe this and that and that. Maybe I got paperwork on surveys with all these different counties and places and Beaver Dam, and it's always like 3 or 7 votes in the county, and they're tribal members that voted. So the survey that everyone's wondering about, that no one took, that was said was taken about this thing they're doing. Okay. They probably weren't notified or included in it on the survey. Who was probably included on the survey? Probably people that are undermining. Yeah, it would be undermining. I don't know how to say it, but like undermining the tribe. But I mean, if the tribe is already corrupt, you're not undermining the tribe necessarily. What you're doing is you're undermining the people. You're not fighting for the people. Essentially, you're working against the people and not their interests. In order to be a nation, you have to. It's a marriage of groups of people and tribes. That's what a nation is, because they share things like territory, language, religious beliefs, things like that. That's what a nation is. So if you're a Mohican nation, then you would share things that the Mohican nation had in common. Well, they moved them out of the territory. So, the original Mohican nation, they have ancestral lands, but not anymore. They changed the language. So, it's not something everyone doesn't fluently speak the language. Well, territory, okay, religion, they don't practice the religion. Well, they do, but if you look, there's churches in every town across everywhere. And, they converted, Native Americans converted and accepted Christianity, and I highly doubt it. It's a lie. A long time ago, when weapons and guns were being introduced into the war, they weren't selling weapons unless they would convert to Christianity, which means sign this paper and get baptized so we have a record of you being a Christian. That's what it means. And we'll give you guns then. So they did it. I don't care, right? The fuck, we don't give a fuck about this shit. English name, sure. Give me an English name, I don't care. I'm trying to survive, give me a gun or whatever. And and that's another thing too. All these wars around the world are involved around religion. Mass graves, put 2 and 2 together. Documentation, what's important. Think about it. Christians are even being manipulated. It's been misstrued. Even people, their own people. Jesus Christ, who he really is, what it really is. And if his teachings, okay then, whatever. If Jesus' teachings were actually